here I am, late as usual for covering a game I intended to cover while it was still relevant. Mario Odyssey is a great game. It's fun, colorful, and a full playthrough will take up about a modest 67 gigabytes. People have been praising this game across the board as one of Mario's best 3D outings, if not the best. So good, in fact, that people were apparently clapping after the game ended. Me being my depressing self, I can't help but think that people may have overhyped this game a little bit. I mean, yeah, it's fun and charming, but to me it's not on the same level as games like Majora's Mask, Shadow of the Colossus, or even Breath of the Wild. So today, I've decided to jump, no Mario pun intended, into why I think this game isn't as good as everybody says it is. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is FrogMario6J, and today we're looking at the problems in Nintendo's newest moneymaker at the time of writing this, Mario Odyssey. Before I dive into the problems with this game, I think it's only fair to jump into some of the parts I enjoy. No negativity. Even if I present something good, I'm not allowed to relieve myself and talk about the downsides until the next section. Let's get all the positivity and rainbows out of the way. First off, the movement in Mario Odyssey is actually really fun. It feels great to string a line of moves together and do something fluid or create a shortcut for yourself, and this is even more fun on the moon with its lessened gravity. The kingdoms are pretty interesting, but I really like the variety of games like Mario Galaxy even more. The aesthetics are really nice, my favorites probably being the Wooded Kingdom and its jamming tunes. Those are some jams. And the Pepto-Bismol filled Luncheon Kingdom that looks straight out of some kind of lolly anime. All around, Mario Odyssey has some great charm to it. Great NPC dialogue, Mario actually has facial animation instead of swapping faceplates, and the soundtrack is overall fun and what you would expect from a Mario game. And would you look at that, ladies and gentlemen, no negativity on the board. Let's change that. So despite the fact that many feel that this game can do no wrong, I feel it had many problems that kinda left me unsatisfied at the end of it.
Are you sure about that?
The moment I talked about how fun it was to move around as Mario in the previous segment, I immediately thought of all the downsides of Mario's movement in this game. Now this is probably one of the most beloved things in this whole experience, so feel free to disagree with me. Maybe I'm just cynical. Okay, so to start off, Mario feels really slow, like way slower than in any of his other games. I don't know, just coming off the other 3D Marios, it feels kind of off-putting for my platforming. Thankfully, Mario now has the ability to roll, which is mostly faster than running, especially when you go downhill.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
My biggest problem with the movement, though, is that everybody praises the mid-air movement and the mobility of the Cappy bounce, but there's just one formula to know, and then you're done. There's not really any variable to the standard Cappy throw, bounce, throw, and dive again, other than maybe starting off with a ground pound to get extra height. This made what was supposed to be a big area of the game that many people enjoyed somewhat non-enjoyable for me after a while because it just got stale. I mean, I don't know, it would just be nice to see Mario with a wide variety of moves. Maybe they could introduce DLC moves somehow, like Flood? It's a pretty lame fix, I admit, but I feel like they should introduce something to spice up his movement even more in future games.
Meta Knight is everything, he's all you ever wanted. You can win a set now, even if you never won it.
Something that I haven't really seen people mention, but has gotten to me, has been the lack of power-ups. There are none in this game, and you can't say that Cappy's transformations take the place of the power-ups, because by definition, they aren't. The literal definition of a power-up is something that adds extra abilities to the character's moveset, not adding some and taking away others, adding. Of course, by this definition, something like Boo Mario from Mario Galaxy also isn't a power-up, and that's also arguable, but Cappy's captures are not power-ups. Another thing that bugs me about this game is that it's too easy. Really, the only challenge that you face is the platforming, which is pretty much a non-issue thanks to Cappy's one trick. The enemies also do next to nothing and are either no threat or just cappable. I mean, I know it's a Mario game, but it's just ridiculous.
No one man should have all that power. The clock's ticking, I just count the hours.
Now, objectively, the biggest problem with this game is the filler. This game's story is driven by collecting moons. The reward for any side mission is a moon. A huge selling point in this game are the moons and the crazy amount of them, but the thing is, they're incredibly easy to find and collect, to the point where the game straight up sells them to you in the shop. The number one collectible in this game that drives the story and allows you to access the rest of it is able to be bought in a casual, random shop. The main campaign of this game is very short. I mean, you could argue that it's not, given the amount of moons, but when a game has to use obvious filler collectibles to pad out its main gameplay time, then there's not much to hold on to for me. People are saying that this is one of the best games they've ever played, but it only really opens up and is fun after you beat the main campaign. If your main game isn't fun, if your worlds don't hold my attention for long enough to the point where I'm kind of sick of them before I've collected all of your filler moons, then I'm sorry, but I don't want to play your post-game. This game just doesn't give me enough for the amount of time it has me going during the main story. And the post-game is worse, because what does that offer? Way more moons, 1 new locale in the Mushroom Kingdom, and 2 new challenges on the moon with Mario's one-trick cappy platforming. If you're going to put the main chunk of the game after the ending, make me want to keep playing. Tease me with some big new functions or abilities, not more pointless moons and costumes. In fact, at the end of the game, you can go into Peach's castle and talk to Toadette. Depending on how many of the random goals you've unknowingly achieved on your journey, you can earn up to 61 power moons. And all you really have to do is talk to her, as a lot of these are earned through just playing the game. One last note when talking about filler, I'm really glad they didn't use 2D sections to, fill up the game. You remember those, right? No? Really? Like, it was in the trailers and everything. You could go into the pipes and walk along the wall as in the old school Mario. You seriously don't remember? You know what? I don't really blame you, because it was such an obvious pandering move that didn't add anything to the gameplay and didn't hit anybody's nostalgia bone. If you want to use 2D Mario again for anybody that's still somehow nostalgic for it, despite the constant shoving of him down our throats, then Nintendo should just make an old 2D retro-style Mario. Maybe they could even get fans to work on it or something to add to the spirit of it, to keep it feeling less like New Super Mario Bros. And more Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. Didn't a company actually recently do something like that?
Oh no!
Okay, so there is actually one point in the game where I like the 2D mechanic. You see, the Mushroom Kingdom is technically the final kingdom in the game, but it's not really designed like that. It's really designed like an introductory playground world for the game, so much so in fact that a popular game reviewer here on YouTube known as Joseph Anderson actually reviewed the Mushroom Kingdom first, going on about how it was a great first world for this Mario game, and then later revealed that it was actually the last. I'll link to that video in the description. There are 2 moons though that I actually feel could be in the last kingdom compared to the rest in its world. When you jump down this well, you arrive in a room where you obviously have to enter a pipe and go 2D into a wall. As you move forward though, the background starts to move with you, and if you move out of the borders it creates, you enter back into the world of 3D and plummet to your death. This provides a somewhat challenging platforming segment that holds 2 moons that actually aren't filler, and I can say that I wholeheartedly enjoyed the challenge in this portion of the game. Mario Odyssey is overall a great game, but still with many flaws that I feel people sometimes don't want to notice, whether that be because they actually enjoyed the game a whole lot more than I did, wanted badly for a return to the Mario 64 style of game to succeed, or aren't as critical or pessimistic as I am. The game has a lot of filler, semi-interesting locations, and doesn't do a great job of holding your attention for a long enough time or making me want more. But buried underneath all of that is a charming experience that is a great step forward for the future of 3D Marios and semi-open world games. This has been Frog Mario L6J on what I think of Mario Odyssey and the different elements of the game. Be sure to tell me what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear it. As always, I'll see you next time.